Nicole tweeted this great thread about the jail proposal. Kind of rambling a lot, but I have a lot to say on this, so I will probably spend a good few minutes on this, and then we'll jump into local races, and I think that's all I said I was going to talk about today. So if there's something else you want me to talk about, sorry, this week was hell. I was in Tulsa on Tuesday, and meetings like literally back to back to back to back yesterday, so a lot of cool shit coming down the pike, but we're, just a lot going on. So anyway, I want to talk about this jail proposal because it's super fucked up, and I have a lot to say on it. So here is what the Oklahoma County Criminal Justice Advisory Council has recommended to the jail trust, who then accepted it, who then passed it on to the county commissioners, who then accepted it. They came up with 5 recommendations based on a facilities subcommittee that, in my opinion, got railroaded into shit that the people in power already had decided that it was what they wanted to do anyway. And so they made 5 recommendations. And that is, a better new facility is absolutely necessary and should be designed and built to meet the American Correctional Association standards. The new facility should be at a different location than the current detention center. I guess presumably because you can't tear down and build a detention center at the same time. I don't know. The better new facility should include funding through a vote of Oklahoma County voters to replace expiring bonds at their current level without raising taxes, because heaven forbid we raise taxes ever for any reason, even if it's really good. Recommendation 3, the better new facility should utilize no more than 950 housing units, which could house about 1,800 people, which I'll address that one in a second. Recommendation 4, it is imperative that CJAC and CJAC's partners in law enforcement, the legal system, service providers, and the community leaders continue the hard and monumental work of reforming the justice system to promote fair and effective solutions for treatment and diversion so overcrowding does not occur again. The reform work should succeed to meet the practices and maintain a 15% vacancy rate in the future facility. So it was 15% of 1,800, like, I don't know, room for an extra 200 people at certain points, whatever. Site Selection Committee and Construction Oversight Task Force should be appointed to ensure the process to build a better new facility at a different location is transparent and accountable in due diligence efforts. So, as you can see, the message that is going to be on all the campaign lit for this damn thing is a better new facility. Sounds great, right? Who doesn't want something that's better and new? We all want that. All right. So here's my fucking take. It's in Oklahoma City Free Press. They've let me do these opinion pieces. I won't lie. I pull some punches because people's egos are fragile and they'll get mad at me if I like call them out by name and be super mean to them. So I'm not doing that yet. Someday I might, but not yet. But anyway, I make the case for a few different things. The central argument is that building a larger jail is crazy. And I am using crazy as in like definition of insanity, like doing the same thing, expecting different results. But what I found in my research for this very, in my opinion, straightforward piece that I mostly just wrote straight from my brain is I found this article from 2015. And it's a timeline for the Oklahoma County Jail. And there's actually a 20-minute interview built into this with Sheriff Wetzel. So, I mean, go back and watch it. So 2015, like August 2015, 6.5 years ago. So, like, not forever ago, but 6.5 freaking years ago. The Oklahoma County Jail opened in 1991 and was built using a 1988 temporary 1-cent sales tax. It was a mere $52 million, which, we've had inflation since 1991, but not enough to justify like 6x in cost increases. But, that isn't even my argument. But what I found interesting was in 2002, county commissioners created a committee to study whether the jail should be run by a trust panel or even a private company. By August, most committee members seemed to agree the jail's design was bad and probably the root of many of the jail's problems. The jail was doomed from the time the first rock was turned, says District Judge Ray Elliott, a member of the committee, who literally just resigned. So, I mean, this guy, 11 years after the jail opened, is quoted as saying this thing needs to be rebuilt. So the Oklahoma County Commissioners here plans that a new jail would cost about $310 million if built within 10 miles of downtown. This comes after more than a year of research from commissioners and an advisory committee looking at whether the county should build a new jail or fix the existing one. Renovating the existing jail costs $279 million in a revised estimate. So, like, they just paid FSB, the architect who designed this latest proposal, a bunch of money to literally recycle the same proposal from 20 years ago in 2002. If that ain't the laziest ass shit I've ever seen, I don't know what is. Like, it is literally almost to the dollar the same proposal. They even kept the 10-mile thing. Like, and supposedly the subcommittee discussed that, but it sounds like that was obviously fed to them. I mean, it's just like, you guys were talking about this 20 years ago, and in the intervening 20 years, we've passed State Question 780 and 781. We've passed medical marijuana. There's been 20 years of research on mass incarceration to say that this shit ain't working and maybe we need to do something different. And yet you are recycling a proposal from 20 years ago. Like, what? Anyway, I just found this wild that a 6-year-old article is quoting a timeline from 2002 and literally quoting, like, it's the same proposal. It's the same proposal. Like, we want to build a $300 million jail. We want to get it out of downtown. We just want to do all this shit all over again. And so, I mean, like, here, let me see if I can find this. Yeah, okay, so here's the 25 slide deck. So I just want to glance at this real quick. A bunch of beautiful pictures. They got, Leslie Batchelor does economic development stuff. She's the queen bee of TIFs in Oklahoma City. I mean, like, so basically, like, transferring money from us, the taxpayers, like, the collective property tax we all pay into. She devises deals to transfer that to wealthy developers. So, I mean, there's like hundreds of millions of dollars in TIF money sitting out there that they could have spent at any point to fix any of this stuff. But no, we've got to spend it building luxury condos and hotels and parking garages and whatever the chamber wants. So anyway, a bunch of insiders here. Know some of them. Again, don't want to call people out because it makes them feel bad, but a bunch of people that know better than what they're doing. So anyway, build a better facility, blah, blah, blah. And they want to utilize ARPA funds, bonds, and existing revenue. And so the way they want to do this, so they show some like very curated statistics about how many people are in the county jail. CJAC's own dashboard, in my opinion, shows a pretty different story. Like, yes, we've come down from like our late 2000s, early 2010 highs, but we're still hovering like well over capacity because the county jail has a 1,200 person capacity, and so we're still 50% over capacity almost. Because on any given day we'll have 17, but we've been over 1,800 very recently. So yeah, I mean here we are. Like this is just the last year. Like our line has been hovering around 1,800. So I don't know where they find that we've got 100 people less, but it's questionable. So, I mean, they give this very simple what a new facility will cost, and there's a big swing. I mean, there's a $100 million difference between building a 1,200-person facility and building an 1,800-person facility. So, what could we do with $100 million? A lot. Anyway, shows some pretty renderings of, like, what a minimum or mental health treatment facility would look like, minimum security, medium security, and, maximum security. Way nicer than our current county jail. They show 3 levels, 6 stories. Jail that can, fix a lot of issues. Like, I can't remember what it's called, but like basically like there's a way that you can design it so that you can have like one person that can supervise like the whole thing. Like our current jail has lots of weird corners and it's just terrible design for that. And they show that if we renovate, you'll save over 25 years, which, God knows how they estimate that. Claim will save $129 million, which sounds great, but, the reality, I mean, anytime you're making 25-year projections, like, I'm very skeptical of what you're doing because nobody knows what's going to happen in 25 years. Like there's so many variables in a 25-year projection. It's really a reach. So anyway, authorized ARPA funding, responding to public health needs, economic damage from the pandemic. They claim we can use ARPA funds, which ARPA is the American Rescue Act money. Oklahoma County is going to get approximately $150 million. They want to use all of it on the jail. Like, in order to make the $300 million price tag work, they've got to basically use all of it and still pass some property tax bonds. So here it is. I mean, they claim we can spend zero of it, but if you spend zero here, then you've got to do all these other bonds. And they've had to do some, like, really creative financing, like revenue anticipation bonds, a tool to capitalize operational savings. So again, you're betting on we'll need less staff in this new jail, and so therefore we can save money. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Leslie does a lot of this creative financing stuff, so maybe that's a real thing that they can bet on, but who knows? Lease purchase revenue bonds, you could potentially finance the difference in any of the funding above, if any of the funding above is not available, or complement the above. This is like, I think where you basically, from what I looked up, this is basically where you lease county-owned property to private interests and bond against it. So, I mean, basically you become a real estate developer. And I don't know, I mean, maybe the county wants to do that, but again, like, if you're making money on the lease purchase revenue bonds, I mean, like, private interests are making more money. I mean, it's just like, you're just having to give away the farm in order to finance this. The two funds that are legit are general obligation limited tax bonds, because that is like dedicated property tax revenue, super safe stuff. There's always a market for it. The government's going to make good on its payment. It's really low interest. It's probably what we use right now to finance roads and other stuff. So now whatever those expiring bonds were funding, now it's all going to go to the jail. And then ARPA funds are one-time emergency funds. Like, they are COVID mitigation. And, we're going to create some argument. So I've already seen stuff. Somebody showed me something that, Oklahoma County is proposing the absolute largest version of this. Like, other counties in the country want to use ARPA funds, but they want to use like some tiny fraction to fix some real problem they have. And I'm not suggesting at all that the Oklahoma County Jail doesn't have real problems. Obviously it does. But like, we're the only one that is putting on the table the possibility of dedicating all of it. And this is it. This is the revenue they've come up with. It's $450 million, which means you take any one of these options out, and your scheme to build a $300 million jail is immediately like deeply in question. So I mean, this is a very fragile house of cards, in my opinion, from a political and theoretical standpoint. So back to my article, back to my piece here. So CJAC does their dashboard, which hopefully this won't crash my stream because it takes an insane amount of time to load. But my argument here is that, and why I get chapped with these guys is everybody on CJAC is somebody extremely powerful. A ton of law enforcement, chief of police, DA, judges, bunch of people that could fix huge aspects of the system if they just like cared to. Like, they could literally just stop doing some of the dumb shit they're doing right now and start fixing stuff. They could also just prioritize different things instead of throwing every human being they find in the county jail. Because, CJAC's dashboard here, let me see what's popped up. Yeah, I mean, so here's their 85% of the current today population is being held pretrial. So like, right off the bat, like, these are people that can't bond out. Many of them because they don't have any money. So I mean, this is an eminently solvable problem. Like, if you were a rich person who had freaking killed someone, like, they would set a bond for you and you would bond out. Like, if you were a rich person that walked into Walmart and walked out with, I don't know, a mini fridge, like, and they said, like, you get a bond and you would bond out. Like, but the problem is we have all these people many of whom are suffering from addiction and mental health, that aren't in there. Then you look at the average days detained for the current population. We are holding these people for a third of a year. Like, that's insane. Like, they are in there for a really long time. Like, the jail is supposed to be like a temporary detention facility. So it's like, this number is ludicrous. Like, part of it's like trials take too long, like, it's just the system is broken. And so, like, what would spending $10 million in ARPA funds to get more judges, more court people, more, just grease the wheels of this insanely broken system? Like, if you lowered that number to say 60 days, what does suddenly the snapshot population look like? It's probably gonna be a hell of a lot less. So to me, the argument is even based on their own goddamn data that they have paid who knows how much money to put together, it's like you've got like 4 columns of very fixable problems that you could solve with like a hell of a lot less than $300 million. Why don't you try doing that? Because every single one of those solutions involves letting people out that have no business being there. Or, even better, diverting people. Like, why wait 5 years for MAPS 4 to come online with, a mental health facility or housing for homeless people or addiction treatment? Like, go find the money and build it now. Like, I just don't, it doesn't make any sense to me that you're going to say, after 20 freaking years of waiting, like, nah, the only option we got here is like build a $300 million, significantly larger, 50% larger jail. That's it. That's all we know how to do. It's like, based on your own data, that's bullshit. Like, you fix any one of these. Like that number, 85% held pretrial. What would the jail population look like if that number was 20% held pretrial? Be a lot less. Like, lower the bonds. If people can't post a $1,500 bond because the average American family doesn't have $500 in savings, find ways to get people to come back that don't rely on cash bail. Like, we have so many options that we're just like not even looking at. And that's my argument. I mean, it's just insanity. It's the definition of insanity. We are proposing doing the same thing. And again, here, like, if you take their thing and run it out to 5 years, so this goes now all the way back to 2015. I mean, yeah, so in 2015, 2016, we were up over 2,000. But, we dropped all the way down to, what is this? 1572 in late, 2017. So, I mean, that's, 4 years ago, going on 5 years ago. So, I mean, we had a big drop from, 2,300 down to 1,700. But since then, like, look, like, we barely even gotten back down to 17 consistently. Like, we're back, as recently as a few months ago, we're back up over almost 1,800. So, I mean, this idea that we've, like, done really anything, I mean, we've come down off of, like, catastrophic highs in the early 2010s to now we're still, like, 5 years, we've made no progress, 4 years. So, again, like, we're leaving many options on the table that, frankly, we should do something about. And we could spend ARPA money on that. We could spend TIF money on that. We could spend bond money. I mean, like, this whole proposal just suffers from a tremendous lack of imagination. Thanks for watching our video. Please give it a like and hit that subscribe button for more content. If you want to engage with us, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram.